everybody, I'm Jack Roberts. Welcome to HDT Talks Trucking. You know, the North American trucking industry is still a place where a young person with a good work ethic, good communication skills can start their own fleet, start their own business, grow it at a pace that they want to. Graig Morin out of Southern Maine is one such person who's done that. He is the owner of Brown Dog Trucking, and it's always good. Greg will be the first to tell you, it's always good to talk to someone who's walked the walk if you're considering about taking that path yourself. How you doing today, Greg?
Good, how are you doing?
I'm good. Tell us a little bit, sort of set the stage. Tell us about Brown Dog. Where are you out of and what do you run these days? How big are you?
So we are a fairly small trucking company. We're 30 trucks based out of Biddeford, Maine. Started off with 2 trucks back in 2017 and just grew from there. When we first started, I was driving part of the day and then working, trying to get customers and whatnot the other part of the day. So, chief bottle washer and truck driver and all of it. So
now you don't come from a trucking family. You sort of got into trucking by accident, correct?
Correct. So the closest to my family that was in trucking was my grandfather, who drove trucks during World War II, but never drove a truck after that. And I started off college wanting to be a police officer and realized that I wasn't meant to be in school anymore. So I did a road trip with my buddies out to Arizona, saw the life on the road for a little bit, and I said, yeah, I could do this. So I started driving back in 1998, right after high school, and worked locally in southern Maine, delivering soda throughout the state, and just kind of grew from there over 20 years. I knew I wanted to start a trucking company. I just didn't know how that was going to look or how we were going to do it.
Time is money, and that's why Catscale built the Weigh My Truck app. Your drivers can complete their entire weigh without ever leaving the cab. They'll see their weights on their mobile device or tablet, and scale tickets can be automatically emailed to you. With a fleet profile, you can save back office time as well. No driver reimbursements. And you'll have access to report data. Find out more at weightmytruck.com.
Do you remember when you sort of, as a driver, you thought, this is an industry where there could be an opportunity for me here? Was there something that jumped out at you, or did you just sort of stubbornly decide you wanted to do it?
It was early on. I decided that I wanted to. I didn't have a clue on how to do that, so what I did was I just started reading trade magazines, and then after quite a few years of doing that, I started going out to Mid-American Truck Show. Was my first show that I did on my vacation time. So just kind of grew from there and realized, there was aspects of the industry that I liked, there was some that I didn't. And so what I decided to do was build a company that I would want to work for. And that was kind of my motto throughout the years. And then my last company I worked for before I started this company, I remember telling my boss, I said, I'm going to start my own company. I'm giving my notice, and I trained my replacement. And the day I left, I handed him my keys, and I was like, oof, now it got real. And it does, because no one's really out there to give you that much information on how to get your authority. And when you're brand new, you don't know a lot of things. But the one thing I knew right out of the gate was to get involved with Maine Motor Transport Association here in Maine, and every state's got their own association, but they helped me a lot get that compliance piece down, learn how to get my numbers, and actually an insurance agent of mine helped me a lot with that as well. So it worked well utilizing the tools that are here. Just a lot of people don't know that those tools are there for you to use.
Now, I know I've talked to you for a previous story I've done for HDT. I know that you almost done no cold calling. You were able to build your business based on pre-existing relationships you had developed while you were a driver. Can you talk about how important that was for your success?
Yeah, so you don't know who you're talking to until you might need them down the road. Never burn a bridge, I say. And the thing with that is, so I was a truck driver for 20 years in southern Maine. I never really went too far, regional a little bit, but I made some friends in the industry. I joined another association called the Maine Professional Drivers Association when I was young, and met some folks there that were really instrumental in helping me get this going. And one of them worked for one of our current customers and said, "Hey, a friend of mine has a truck. Could you guys give him a chance?" And they did, and now they're our biggest account. And we're hauling almost, call it 30 loads a day for them. So it was a big help having these other friends in the industry. So it was a lot of who you know and go prove yourself sort of stuff. They give you the opportunity to put your toenail in the door, and once you prove yourself, then you can go on merit from there. But it was a big help having friends around here to help us in the door.
So it's one thing to decide to start a trucking company. It's another thing to actually start a trucking company. Another thing to get in there and you've got one truck, and then you start growing your company. How did you know when it was time to grow, and what surprised you about actually starting to grow? It's not, people think, well, your problem's going to multiply, but the money's going to multiply. Plus, you're a driver. You sort of go into it looking at the world from a driver's viewpoint, but now you're an owner, and there are, like it or not, there are conflicts there. Sort of just talk about that path there.
So we started off with 2 trucks. It was pretty early on when I realized, all right, we're doing okay, but in order to make the insurance work and all your fixed costs, you're going to have fixed costs. You're going to have rent. You're going to have all that stuff. So you're going to be able to spread those costs out amongst many more equipment versus less. So if there's only 2 trucks running, your rent at your office or your parking area is still going to be your rent. So if you can grow a little bit and have that same rent price, and which we pretty much do from the beginning, that'll help. So we decided we're going to go a little bit bigger. So we got 4 and 5 trucks, and that was working pretty well. And we bumped up to 7. So we did it very organically and slowly. And then our biggest customer now went out. They went to bid for all of their outside work, and we went out and they were asking for double the amount of trucks that we had every day, 7 days a week. So we decided, all right, we're going to give it a shot. We're going to go up against all the big guys and see what we do. And lo and behold, we won. I was actually in Las Vegas for one of my first conferences for the Truckload Carriers Association, and so I was in the general session and get the call that I won. And it was a pretty big deal, and basically that phone call more than doubled our fleet pretty much overnight, or we had to double our fleet. So that was get on the phone and start sourcing trucks and start finding drivers, and we had built a working plan so we could grow into that number over the course of a couple of months, which was key. But one of the problems with growing so fast is you're focused on supplying that customer like you told me you're going to do, but there's a lot of stuff that falls under the radar, and that might be you're hiring drivers that, if you had a few extra minutes, you might not hire. So we went through quite a bit of reshaping and repositioning, and having to remove drivers because we just didn't do our due diligence, or it was a mess for a little bit. We got to the number we needed to, but then we had to spend another year fixing everything else. And that's one thing I kind of regret with that whole thing. It all worked out. We got the numbers up there. Our safety is just fine. We could always do better. I will always say that. That's one thing, is safety. You're never good enough. You can always do better. I don't care how many awards you have on the wall. I have a bunch of awards here for safety, and it's still not good enough. I want to keep going with it. And I think every company should feel that way if they don't already. And I know the folks that I hang out with at all these associations feel the exact same way I do. And we all love sharing our pros and cons, and how are we doing this? If you're having this pain point and I'm having this pain point, how can we fix that and collaborate together and figure things out? That's the beauty of the industry once you're into it. But as a small carrier, it's a daunting task to say, I'm going to get involved with the Truckload Carriers Association or the American Trucking Association. They got carriers that got tens of thousands of trucks. And I'm in there at that time, when I first started, I had 7. one of the smaller guys. So,
Yeah.
but you know what? At the end of the day, if you're getting into this, it doesn't matter if you have one truck or 10 or whatever. There's something that we all have in common, and we all put our shoes on the same way. And everyone I've met inside of this, not inside the industry that is part of associations, is more than happy to, help guide you a little bit. Mentors, so to speak. And I've got many of them, and I owe a lot of what I know now to them. And had I not had that coming, as I grew, who knows what would have happened or how I would have done it without that. I mean, I'm sure it would have happened, but when you have other people to back you up and have done things before, utilize those tools. They're there to help, and that's what I've learned through my time. And it's been 8 years, and every time I go to an event, I learn something new. That's kind of our motto here. If you're going to go to an event, if you get one thing out of it, it was worth the money to go to that event. And I go to a lot. I do about 12 or 13 or so events per year, all across the country, and it's worth every penny of it, because we're able to grow safely, take the stuff that I have learned over this time, pass it on to other people getting in, because now I'm starting to meet people that are doing the same thing that I did, which is great. I love being able to talk to people about how we did what we did and why we did it, and the good, bads, and the uglies, because in this industry it is not all roses and Cheerios. It's flaming hoops of fire and nonsense. But if you're really into it, you can do it and grow a company.
What's it like as a former driver hiring drivers? That's kind of got to be a little mental gymnastics there. And what do you look for in a driver versus what do you look for in someone who you're going to put in an office role or in a role like that? What's important to you?
It's so as far as hiring drivers goes, I have now farmed that out to I've got a wonderful recruiter sitting down the hall. He does an amazing job, and he's got that gift of recruiting. I'm more of a black and white sort of guy, and I will call somebody out on whatever. It's difficult to have been there and done that, and then to kind of take that.
Why doesn't everyone do it my way, right?
100%. It is
difficult,
and that's why I have surrounded myself with a great team of people that can think outside of the box that sometimes is in my head. And that's another thing, is surround yourself with good people, whether it's at an association, but inside your inner workings, it's always good to have like-minded people, the ones that carry your vision, but can execute it better than you in some ways. And having a recruiter here working with new drivers even, because when you've been driving for 20 years and you've got your own ways of doing things, it'll drive you absolutely batty to go out and do a pre-trip with somebody else. So I leave it to the trainers, I leave it to the recruiter. So, but in the beginning, I hired some friends. I hired guys that I knew that I had worked with.
People you trust, right?
Yeah, people I trust, and one of them's still working here. He's been ready for retirement since the day he started here. So he just enjoys. He tells me he just enjoys coming in and watching this thing grow.
That's great. That's great.
And he's been by my side in anything I need. And of course, we've gone round and round too. I've been out in the parking lot over here and battling it out in the middle of the night. And I took his load to New York, and all kinds of stuff. There's nothing that's ever going to be normal as when you're sitting in the big guy chair. You never know what you're going to come into. This morning, there was 10 fires to put out before this call. And, as much as you plan on stuff to go 100% this way, it's not. It's just not.
Yeah.
It's going to be different. But again, surround yourself with good people that can handle a lot of that. And I had to pass the torch on a few things, like recruiting, and some of the training stuff, but I set the standard of this is what I want to see. Their job to make that happen, the drivers and everybody else, and how they all get there. And everyone learns different, everyone does different things.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, safety is a top priority, and customer service has to be right up there too. And over here at Brown Dog, everyone's at the same level. There's no tiers. It's just we have the customer, we have management, we've got drivers, we've got support staff, and we all run along that same line. And there's not one person that's any different than anybody else here. We're all here to get the same job done, and that's protect the motoring public, number one. Number two, take care of our customers, and then by taking care of our customers and the public, that will take care of all of us as far as going home to our families and eating well, having vacations and all that stuff. It's all extremely important. So I think if you're getting into the management role, it's taking your brain out of the driver's seat, because when we're drivers, we are focused on the road. This is what I'm doing. I do my pre-trip. I do this at noontime. I stop for coffee at 2. Well, all that changes when you start a company. And I learned it. It was, humble beginnings over here for sure. I worked out of the back bedroom of my house. My 2 young kids at the time, hooting and hollering in the background, and it was a lot going on in the beginning. And then as we built and leased office space and parking lots and all of that sort of thing, it got somewhat easier in some aspects, but then you're also adding more headaches.
Sure.
So
sure.
No matter what you do, you'll end up with headaches, but without headaches, you get no reward. And what you got to do is you got to know what you want. You got to know your niche. We have a little niche I didn't even think we'd end up in. I thought we were going to be hauling flatbed trailers around. I ordered 2 flatbed trailers, never hooked to one of them. Sent them back, and now we haul groceries, and that's in food grade product. And it was by happenstance. It wasn't part of the plan, but we pivoted and just made a go at it. And it just happens that was a niche we ended up in. We do well in it. I know there's a lot of guys I've talked to that try and do a lot. They're going to be a flatbed carrier. They're going to be refrigerated, dry van. They're going to get into heavy haul, with step decks. And I'm like, how about you pick one of those, start there, and I mean, dry van and reefer, they kind of cross paths. We do both. But if you're going to be hauling a piece of equipment one day and then you're going to go haul a load of groceries the next, can you really be good at each thing when you're small? And when you're bigger, you can have divisions. You can split it all up and do a bunch of different things. But getting into it, you want to be good at something and very good at it, because you need to stand out above the guys that can do it a lot cheaper than you. We are not the cheapest in town by any stretch of the imagination, and I won't even entertain being any cheaper, because what our customers are getting is quality trucks, quality drivers, and dependency. They know they can call us and depend on us to be there on time, every time. Whereas, some big guys, they might flounder a little bit in that, or the drivers might not be, what our customers are looking for. And we won that bid primarily for our customer service, because when they had a problem, they just called me direct, and we fix problems. And it was one of my problems this morning, putting out fires, and it was the big boss there and me having at. And at the end of it, we both felt like we won. Life was good, and we moved on. And they're not going to get that with a big carrier. They're just going to get one of the operations guys, and neither one are going to leave happy. And with me, I can make any decision I want, and that's the beauty of owning a company. You can make your decisions, but make them based on the quality of your work. So don't sell yourself short, and that's something that we won't do. I mean, I've had opportunities to haul many other loads of freight. I'm not even asking one of my guys to get out of bed for that kind of money. It's not going to happen. When you want to pay reasonable money for that, freight and know that it's going to be safe and know that it's going to get there on time and know that you can call me with any problems, then great. But until then, we just aren't going to work together because it's not worth my time or their time to waste. And so you just got to stay true to your convictions. Just know where you stand. If you're really good at something, people will pay for that service. And I don't care what the market looks like. If they want it done, they want it done right, they will pay you. And there's some companies that just don't want to. And we've left companies like that. They just don't care. And they'll let anyone haul their freight, and they don't care if it goes out in the woods. Once it leaves their dock, they do not care. And we have one of those right near us, and we refuse to haul for them. And it's just how it is. But it's just, who do you want to be? Don't chase the low-lying fruit. Go after the good stuff, and don't think you can't do it because the big guys are out there doing it.
Yeah. And you're a big believer in that if you're looking at doing this, small carriers really have a role to fill and can respond in ways that larger carriers, we've got super carriers today, we've got large carriers, depending on how you want to classify it, but you really feel like you guys fill a niche and deliver a level of personal service that your customers can't necessarily get from large carriers, right?
Correct. And that's the thing, is they're trying to steer the Titanic around. We're not. We got a little speedboat. We can move around real quick and get around everybody. And that's the bonus of being smaller and, and just customer driven. And I don't even know where that number of trucks is on where you get too big to really manage it that well. We're nowhere near that. We're pretty easygoing and can adjust very easily our operations to accommodate the customer's needs. I don't think it should be hard for anybody, but I understand some of these big guys, they've got just so many cogs in the wheel of, between the operations guys and all their safety guys and all the 10 layers of everything. We don't have that. We got a very small office, five or so of us working in here, and
if there's a problem, you're going to hear about it before the end of the day, right?
Yeah, and of course on my email screen, I've got the dispatch email, safety emails. I have all of them right here that I see. So if you're emailing the safety guys, I will see it, and I look at everything. Do I deep dive into everything? Well, I don't need to, but if there's something that sticks out, even same thing with cameras. I get those emails too at certain thresholds, and if it's coming to me, it's a noteworthy moment that I'm going to have a conversation with someone, and that's just part of staying on top of your customer service, your safety, and just being on top of it. Don't let anything slide if you're getting into this, because if you let one little thing slide, 10 things behind it will slide too, and you're going to spend more time trying to fix things than just moving forward. And so that's kind of our mission, is to focus heavily on being proactive versus reactive. And there's things you got to react to, but if you can try and nip it in the bud before it gets to that point, then the better off you'll be.
Now, I know that you would be the first to tell our viewers that you're still on this journey. You're still learning. You're still growing. You still have decisions to make. Now, I know one example of this is you made the decision early on you were going to lease trucks.
Yep.
And you told me when we did our previous interview, at some point there's going to be a time when the numbers don't work and it'll be time to buy trucks. Because I'd asked you, if a lot of people think, well, I want to start a small fleet, do I buy a used truck? How many miles? Talk a little bit about that decision and, just what it's like now, 30 trucks, but hey, you still got plans, you still want to grow. I guess the challenges have changed, but just kind of talk us through where you are now today.
Yeah, so I am not a mechanic, never wanted to be a mechanic, and
you and me both, we talked about that.
We talked about it, and I know well enough what's broken, what is broken, and all that. I can do a pre-trip just fine, but after that, I'll put fuel in the truck and some oil, but it's somebody else's problem after that. And so I knew that I didn't want to run a shop. And like I said before, focus on what you're good at. I'm not good at mechanics. I'm just not. So we decided to go third party with that, and we lease everything, and we have one provider. And I say that because all the other ones said no to me. So starting out, you're going to hear no a lot. Don't worry about it. You'll find that one person that'll say yes, and then you treat them loyally. And that's what we did. We have one provider that we use for most everything. Sometimes we have to rent trailers from other carriers because they just don't have what we need. But on the most part, we use just one. And that gentleman, his name is Colin, and he's been my lease guy ever since. And I said, I will leave if you leave. I'll find something different. I'll find somebody different. But he took a chance on me. And you don't have credit, you don't have anything. So we rented or leased 2 older trucks. We were in 2017. We started. They were 2012s. So they had already had all the love taken out of them. They were well used, we'll call it.
Yeah.
But you know what? I put my stickers on there with pride and ran those trucks for another 3 years. Added some new ones. I remember the first 3 brand new ones I got. I was prouder than a peacock when I got those. And since then, we've just been adding brand new trucks. We don't lease anything old anymore. We get brand new ones, lease them for 3 years, and return them. And the thing with that is, I don't have to worry about the maintenance. And they don't build trucks like they used to by any stretch of the imagination. We picked up 8 brand new ones last year, and most of those had to go back with the dashboards lit up like Christmas trees. I didn't have to pay for it. I just brought them back. They gave me subs to replace those trucks, so I wasn't even down a truck. Didn't have my truck my fancy lettering all over it, but we had a sticker on the side of the door that still moved freight just as well as anything else.
Sure.
And that for us works. It's not going to work for everybody. And some guys like to spend time tinkering on their trucks and whatnot. I don't. I never have. I never wanted all the chrome and all the chicken lights. I just want stock. I want to go out and make money, park the truck, have somebody else come and wash it. We have a wash company that comes. And again, all this stuff costs money, but if you build it into your plan, it's just another day. It's something you don't have to think about, and that's big when you're trying to grow.
And you can focus on the stuff you want to focus on.
Yeah, focus on the stuff you're good at. I don't
Right.
like I used to wash the trucks, but I don't want to anymore. So there's a company that's what they do for a living, and that's what they're good at. So let them do it. And same thing with the mechanics. And leasing equipment from whether it's Ryder or whoever. We use Ryder, and they are the ones that gave us a chance, and now we're one of their biggest customers in Southern Maine. And people kick my door in all the time. At least once a week, one of their competitors is sitting over here trying to get into my office. And it's just not going to happen, because when I say, well, what did you tell me in 2017 when I was trying? You said no. So now I'm saying no. See ya.
Yeah.
The guy that said yes, he's still loving it, and we're getting trucks from him all the time now. So I'm big on being loyal to the people that have helped me. That's a big thing. And like I said before, never burn a bridge, because you never know when you're going to have to cross it again. And there might be times you get angry, but with someone or something, just talk about it and work it out.
Hey, dance with the one that brung you, we say down here in the South, right?
That's right. Yeah. And, sometimes you got to keep your enemies closer. So, hey.
Yeah.
And that's just the thing is, in this industry, we can all work together. There's enough work out there. And everyone's got their little niche and doing their lanes. And we got our little world up here in the Northeast that, it's fairly quiet. But we still, we got people that want to do what we're doing, and we're stuck in our niche, and people will try and get the work from you, but
sure,
keep focusing on what you're good at. Just keep plugging away at it and keeping that customer happy, and then
let's take it out the door here. There's a guy sitting in the back of a sleeper somewhere on the outskirts of Omaha, Nebraska. He's watching this interview on his phone or his tablet, or she is. And they're trying to build up the courage to pull the trigger and make that step. What's your message to that guy or that gal out there? What would you give them a heads up on? What would you tell them to do, not do? Just sort of final thoughts here.
Yeah. So keep that drive about you. You want to do it, go out and get it. Before you hand those keys in, make sure you can get your authority. And the big thing with authority is you need your insurance. That is going to be your biggest pain in the neck from the moment you start to the time you can get into a captive. And you'll understand what all that is down the road. But the insurance is going to be your biggest hassle. You want to find an insurance agent that will help you, guide you through a lot of it. And I did. I had some great insurance agents over time. And, I may not have liked the carriers that we were put with, but the agents were great and helped me out, and learned a lot from them. And they knew my disdain for insurance companies, and I still have it. It's no secret that, the rising cost of insurance, and I'm actually on the RAC committee for the Research Advisory Committee for HDT. That is one of our things, our working groups, is the rising cost of insurance and whatnot. So that was a big thing for me. Is it's hard to run a business when you don't know what's going to happen in 1 year with your insurance. They could drop you. We went down to having 6 hours left one year, a couple years ago, with not having signed on the line yet. So we didn't even know if we were going to run a night shift because we didn't know if we had insurance. And that stuff, they don't give you heartburn. That'll eat your lunch for you. And there's nothing you can do. And that's the problem. And so focus, study the industry, know which way you want to go. You obviously got to leave room in there to pivot because it will change. But insurance is going to be your biggest battle. And let the association, whatever state you're in, help you with that. Let them help you with getting your authority. Don't go online and look up how to get your authority because 500 other people are going to blow you up and try and charge you thousands of dollars to help you get your authority. It doesn't cost that. It's like $300. And you can do it on your own fairly easily. It's actually very simple. But you got to just study and focus and utilize the tools that you already have. You may not know you have them, but if you call a state association in whatever state you live in, or whatever state you want to operate in, I think they would all help you. That's been my kind of feeling from these associations, and some are more involved than others, but I know up here in Maine, we've got a great association that helped me right through everything on that end, including my insurance aid, getting my insurance agent, which was one of their sons. So, utilize that tool. That is the big one. And I will say insurance will be the biggest hurdle. And once you cross that and you land the insurance and whether you're going to buy a truck or lease a truck or whatever it is, then hand over the keys and start. Spot market stuff is extremely difficult right now. That is not a way to make a living currently. Sometimes it is. During COVID, my God, you can make all kinds of money on the spot market. Right now, it's not. So we have quite a few owner operators hauling for us because they know they're going to get paid every week. We pay our guys right out of the gate. We don't make them wait 30 days or anything like that.
No games, right?
Yeah, no games. They all have their numbers. They're their own companies, and we just pay them. They do the work today, they get paid on Friday. I'm not playing around with, well, if I pay you early, I'm going to take 3%. I don't know. There's none of that. And you got to be a good just got to be a good person, a good member of the industry, and not try and gouge people and all that because maybe you got a leg up on something. And don't haul for people that are going to do that to you. Don't underestimate yourself. Go out there, guns a-blazing, just like we did when we went in for that. The contract that was way bigger than we were, and we went in there and got it. All right, well now let's pivot and figure out what we're going to do with it. And we made it happen. But that's because we didn't undercut ourselves. We went in there with the mindset of, we are going to do this, we are going to get this done, and here's how we're going to do it. And not everything went as planned, but you just build that in and just go and get the job done. Never underestimate the power of what you can do if you just put your mind to it.
It's been a pleasure talking to you today. I suspect this will not be the last time we have a conversation as you're on your journey.
Yeah.
Really appreciate your insights today. And Greg, look forward to hearing more from you in the future. Thank you again for your thoughts and insights today.
Yeah, thanks, Jack, and we'll be seeing you around, I'm sure.
Absolutely.